Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Iraqi cleric al-Sadr renews warning to U.S. forces in the country. Bahrain's February 14th movement calls for another march for self-determination. And Syrian army withdraws from Hama as crackdown continues elsewhere. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
Our BBC correspondent in Syria reported that Syrian forces began to withdraw from the city of Ariha in the countryside of Idlib. This comes after the Syrian forces deployed in the city of Hama withdrew this morning. The withdrawals began after Turkish Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoglu visited the Syrian capital yesterday. He requested the Syrian leadership pull the army out of the Syrian cities and release the detainees. Meanwhile, the death toll from the army's security operations yesterday rose to 21, including 17 in the city of Deir ez-Zor alone.
Reef Damascus is still the platform for raids and arrests, according to human rights activists. Phone lines were cut off in Zamalka, Arbain, Hamouriya, and Sakba, which witnessed a campaign of arrests and confiscations of motorcycles starting at dawn after yesterday's protests. In Deir ez-Zor, the death toll rose to at least 21. Tanks are besieging the area around the city's airport and the neighborhoods of Jibli, Al-Muwathafin, and Sheikh Yassin. Rights activists say that the tanks are preparing for broad military operations as strong explosions were heard in the region. Rights activists said that Syrian forces began a military operation in Idlib province and a wide-scale military operation in the city of Sarmin, using heavy machine guns and wounding at least 10 people. Meanwhile, nighttime protests continue after Ramadan's Taraweeh prayers in various areas, such as the Tarifat neighborhood of Aleppo, condemning the regime and the security forces' actions. Several protests occurred after the Fajr prayer, such as the demonstration in al-Muaddamiyya in the suburb of Damascus and in Homs, and even at al-Fatah Mosque in Hama. The opposition says that security forces and the Shabiha are in tanks and armored trucks and are on their way to besiege the city of Taftanez in Idlib, which was subject to a military raid yesterday. However, our BBC correspondent, who arrived in Hama for a media tour organized by the authorities, said that he saw military vehicles leaving Hama and headed to their bases, as the Syrian military officers had informed him.
70 vehicles, including armored vehicles and tanks mounted on trucks, were on the Homs International Highway. When we asked the Brigadier General, the commander of the military unit, where these military vehicles carrying soldiers were headed, he said that they were returning to their bases.
While media networks say that these images spreading online show the army passing by a Syrian region, the opposition says the images are of the army during its operations in Al-Bukamal. Many questions were raised around these images, which are horrific but do not seem to be of live events. All of these developments come after the Turkish Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoglu visited Damascus and held talks for one day. The Syrian president issued a statement after the meeting, affirming the regime's right to grapple with armed terrorist groups, which he says are active in Syria. Hayan Yaqub, BBC.
Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan expected the situation to calm down and the violence to end in Syria within 10 to 15 days. Erdogan said at a press conference in Ankara that the Syrian government is turning its guns on its people. He also indicated that the Turkish ambassador in Syria visited Hama and reported that the tanks started to leave the city.
Supporters of Bahrain's February 14th revolution issued a statement asking Bahrainis to respond to the Youth Coalition's call to attend Thursday night's Self-Determination 7 march in the Sanabis area, located near Pearl Roundabout. The statement condemned the al-Khalifa regime's attempt to thwart the People's Revolution with its crackdown, harassment campaign, and martial law. The statement confirmed the commitment to the popular slogan, "The people want to topple the regime instead of reform the regime." For its part, Al-Wifa National Islamic Society announced it will hold a festival next Friday under the banner "No Retreat" on what it called the Friday of Decisiveness. Meanwhile, the Bahraini regime's investigative committees issued a notice that included the names of all those who were fired or suspended from their jobs in government institutions because of their objection to the regime and their participation in protests.
This Bahraini scene is repeated every day and every night. The popular mobilization is ongoing, with marches and demonstrations reiterating slogans demanding genuine reforms, calling on the regime to end its policy of oppression, terror and sectarian discrimination. This cry continues until nighttime. However, security forces backed by Saudi occupation forces respond with gunfire and stun grenades. Saudi interference was strongly condemned by the people. The martyrs and the detainees' family members organised a protest in front of the Fact-Finding Commission's office in Manama. They condemned the intervention of Saudi occupation forces in the country and demanded their immediate withdrawal from Bahrain. This comes as opposition to Al-Wifaq National Islamic Society announced it will continue its popular gatherings. It indicated it is organising a festival next Friday under the banner of No Retreat and what it called the Friday of Decisiveness. At the same time, politically motivated dismissals continue according to the latest figures. Reports indicate authorities waged a termination campaign that affected dozens of employees at the University of Bahrain due to their participation in demonstrations or for partaking in social networking sites. In the same context, employees fired from the Ministry of Education confirmed the number of those who were terminated or suspended has exceeded 132 employees, contradicting the ministry's statement. They confirmed disciplinary boards investigated with many teachers.
We used to endure discrimination. Now we endure discrimination and the dismissal of over 3,000 employees. We used to endure the impunity of oppressors. We had the martyrs of the 1990s. We used to deal with what activists have been subjected to for the last 10 years. Now we have many more people martyred, tortured, had their money stolen, and their rights violated.
As for the torture policy recently revealed by former Member of Parliament, Matar Ibrahim Matar, it is being repeated with Dr. Saeed al-Samahiji, an ophthalmologist at Salmaniyah Hospital who had a stroke while being tortured in Manama prison. Meanwhile, additional doctors accused of participating in protests are being fired under the supervision of the Minister of Health and Minister of Development and Human Rights, Fatima al-Balushi. Dozens of medics remain in jail, accused of treating demonstrators during Bahrain's protest movement.
إلى ليبيا حيث بث التلفزيون الليبي صورا قال إنها لخميس.
Libyan state TV aired a video filmed on Tuesday saying it showed Khamis, the son of Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi. The images show Khamis al-Gaddafi visiting the wounded in a hospital in the capital, Tripoli. Several days ago, reports said Khamis al-Gaddafi was killed in a NATO air raid in the city of Zlitan in western Libya. The Libyan regime denied these reports, saying they're aimed at diverting attention from the killing of the revolutionaries' military commander, Abdul Fattah Yunus.
At the end of every battle, the revolutionaries advance toward the western front line of Misurata, and the death toll in their ranks rises. At the same time, the number of prisoners and the death toll among Gaddafi's battalions increases as well.
Our correspondent, Mohammed Hassan, visited Misurata and learned the stories of a number of prisoners from Gaddafi's battalions and how the Misurata residents are treating them.
Lucky are those who survived in Misurata. The war has devastated the area and destroyed the lives of innocent people. The battlefield has now moved, but the war continues and its repercussions are tangible. Another facet to Libya's losses is apparent on the coast of the Janat region in Misurata. Hundreds of bodies from Gaddafi's battalions lie here, and the number keeps rising. The relatives of these youths miss their burials, and no one knows anything about them except the people who buried them.
Of course, that number is the same as the one placed in the tombstone. If they had an ID or cash or a cell phone, we write down the number, then we wash the body, we offer prayers for the body, and these young people bury it.
بعدك الصلاة عليها بعدين تقوم الشباب بدفنها.
More than 1,000 members of Gaddafi's battalion were killed in the battles of Misurata before the NATO-backed revolutionaries managed to defeat them. The battalions are still fighting the revolutionaries. What remains truly puzzling is the battalion's motives and the ability of its members to point their guns at their civilian brothers. Every one of these prisoners from Gaddafi's battalions has a family who worries about them on the other side of the country, and every one of them has a story.
They took me out almost dead. They told them I was killed. Those who didn't come out of Misurata were slaughtered. All those young men gave their lives away for a tyrant. God willing, he will leave.
لا احنا في الكتيبة اصلا طلعت من الكتيبة انا بس عجبك الكتيبة كل يوم يجيبونا في احداثيات خش المخربين المنطقة الفلانية.
Every day they would bring a battalion after having destroyed some area. They bombed and destroyed. The rapes.
فجروا اغتصاب. أكتر حاجة يعني يجيبونا في.
At times, they would ask us to rape and rape. Our feelings stirred. This is our country. These are our brothers.
يقتلوا في الشيوخ يقتلوا في النساء. كل سمعناه كلامه.
They would kill old people, they would kill women. We heard all this talk, we were scared.
We hid the identity of the prisoners in accordance with the Geneva Convention. The youngest is 16 years old and the eldest served in the colonel's army for many years. The consensus is that they regret their actions. Their future remains obscure. It will be decided by the government after the end of the crisis. Their war is over, and so is the war of those who were killed within their ranks and those who were killed by these prisoners' weapons. Mohammed Hassan, Al Jazeera, Misurata.
The Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Sadr has once again warned the U.S. of the consequences of remaining in Iraq. He says this will lead to an armed resistance. Press TV correspondent Wissam al-Bayati has more.
Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Sadr once again has warned the U.S. troops of the consequences of their remaining in Iraq. He said that the Americans were behind the chaos and sectarian strife that engulfed the country after 2003. Muqtada al-Sadr also said that the Iraqi security forces, with the support of the people, are capable to achieve the unity and defeat the terrorism in Iraq. On the other hand, the lawmakers from Southern Movement stated that the Iraqi people have only witnessed poverty, fear, human rights abuses, poor security conditions, terror and sectarian militia, which the Americans themselves have created.
Iraq will be supported by the Iraqi people, and this will develop the performance professionalism of our security forces. It will eliminate the need for the U.S. troops.
On many occasions, Muqtada al-Sadr has shown opposition toward the presence of U.S. troops in Iraq after the December 31st deadline, even as trainers for the Iraqi security forces. Al-Sadr said that any remaining U.S. soldier will be treated as oppressive occupier that should be resisted through military means. So far, the U.S. administration has ignored the threats and still negotiating with the Iraqi government the remaining of a number of U.S. troops after 2011. The Sunni Arab bloc in the parliament also rejected any U.S. troops to train Iraqi forces after the deadline and warned of possibility of armed resistance by the Iraqi people.
We are against the presence of U.S. forces in Iraq. We should build our own forces on our own, and this will not be achieved as long as the U.S. remains in Iraq.
Observers say that the Iraqis are impatiently waiting to see the U.S. troops out of their country.
If U.S. troops extend their presence in Iraq, they will face the Iraqi people, not only the resistance.
U.S. military forces are scheduled to pull out completely from Iraq by the end of 2011, according to Security Pact named Status of Forces Agreement, SOFA, which was signed in late 2008 between Baghdad and Washington. The Iraqi people are impatiently waiting to see the withdrawal of the last U.S. soldier from their country and warned of the consequences of the remaining of these troops after 2011. Wissam al-Biati, Press TV, Baghdad.
Israeli forces have arrested at least a dozen Palestinian and international activists during a demonstration against the illegal barrier in the occupied West Bank. The activists gathered in the occupied West Bank village of Walaja, where Israel has uprooted dozens of trees to pave the way for the construction of the barrier. Palestinians say the wall, which cuts off their villages from vital farmland and services, is a land grab by Tel Aviv. The International Court of Justice in The Hague has deemed the occupied West Bank barrier illegal. Also, this case is scheduled for hearing in Israel's Supreme Court at the end of September.
Leaders of the tent protest movement are expressing skepticism that change is on the way. They were reacting to assertions by Professor Manuel Trachtenberg, head of the new committee examining social policy, that he intends to find solutions to their problems. The leaders of the protest movement say they aren't buying it. More in this report from IBA's Errol Reshef.
During the first meeting last night of the so-called Trachtenberg Committee, the head of the new economic forum tried to reassure protesters that this is not just more red tape. Professor Manuel Trachtenberg stressed that the 22 members he had appointed are professional and possess the social sensitivity necessary to effect real change. Prime Minister Netanyahu has mandated that the group present its recommendations to the Socio-Economic Cabinet Committee, chaired by Finance Minister Yuval Steinitz, by the end of the month. Among those serving on Trachtenberg's team are representatives of the Prime Minister's office, Treasury, and the Bank of Israel, and also notable academics. But for their part, the protest leaders are not convinced. They said that the Trachtenberg Committee will only create complicated resolutions and will drown the issues in a sea of bureaucratic paperwork. They also claim that the panel would operate with the same lack of transparency as other government bodies and would try to repackage old remedies in a new format. The campaign organizers have formed their own socio-economic panel of advisors, comprised of experts in a variety of fields, as a foil to the Trachtenberg Commission. Last night, tent camp leaders sent a letter to Prime Minister Netanyahu, Finance Minister Yuval Steinitz, and Housing Minister Ariel Atias, asking them to halt unilateral steps. The protesters chastised Netanyahu for avoiding real dialogue and refused to meet with the government-appointed forum. Yesterday, Transportation Minister Yisrael Katz, a member of the Cabinet Socio-Economic Committee, paid an unexpected visit to the tent city on Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv to listen, learn, and exchange views. Yesha Settlers Council Chairman Danny Dayan also made an appearance at the site to meet with the student union leaders. He warned against using the social struggle for petty political gains. He emphasized that the hardships do not end at the Green Line. As the nascent Trachtenberg Committee begins its work, the leaders of the tent movement look poised to resist its conclusions and to press forward with their campaign for social justice. Ariel Reshef, IBA News.
Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Kuwait pulled their ambassadors from Syria this week. IBA's Eli Wagalanter asked Middle East expert Professor Moshe Maoz whether he thinks such a move by the Arab countries is a game changer.
Yes, as we can see, Syria, or the regime in Syria at least, is becoming more and more isolated regionally, apart from Iran and apart from Hezbollah, and also internationally, apart from China, and Russia, although Russia has some criticism. Though it's a pressure, but it's not enough to remove Bashar al-Assad. Maybe to press him to do some reforms.
The parliament of Iraq's Kurdistan region condemned the Iranian artillery shelling that the border areas have been subject to.
At the conclusion of its special session, the parliament issued a statement demanding Iran abide by international laws and respect the historic relations between the two countries. The statement stressed the importance of compensating the residents of the border areas and finding a diplomatic solution to the issue.
The Kurdistan parliament is holding its special session for a second day to discuss Iran's bombardment of the border areas in Iraq's Kurdistan region. The parliament denounced the Iranian shelling in a report submitted by the Joint Fact-Finding Commission, comprised of 4 parliamentary committees. The 4 committees are the Legal Committee, the Human Rights Committee, the Security and Interior Affairs Committee, the Peshmerga and Defense Committee.
A number of decisions were announced today in the Kurdistan Parliament's official statement. The most important one is condemning Iran's military operations and bombardment on the border areas in the Kurdistan region. In addition to that is a request to all parties to respect the sovereignty of the federal state of Iraq. The report included 12 points, such as demanding Iran to immediately stop the shelling and respect Iraq's sovereignty, requesting intervention from international human rights organizations and compensation for the affected people, and holding serious talks with Iran to prevent such aggression from repeating itself. Kurdistan's Change Bloc in Parliament indicated that the decision lacks seriousness in its condemnation and contains no decisive measures against the Iranian bombardment.
The statement is not as determined as it's required to be. It is inadequate. The Kurdistan Parliament, the government of the Kurdistan region, and the Iraqi federal government should file a lawsuit against the Iranian and Turkish violations.
In its special session today, the Kurdistan Parliament denounced Iran's continuous bombardment. Meanwhile, parliamentarians stressed the importance of taking stronger and more stringent measures against the repeated Iranian aggression. Kamra al-Mohammed, al-Iraqiya, Erbil.
Representative for the Kurdistan Coalition, Ashwaq al-Jaff, demanded to form an official parliamentary delegation to Tehran and discuss the reasons for the Iranian forces' encroachment of Iraq's sovereignty.
All political parties should take a unified and strong Iraqi position, and there should be an official parliamentary delegation to Tehran to discuss the reasons for these violations and aggression on Iraq. Iraq needs to have diplomatic communications with our neighbor Iran and send a delegation to Tehran to exert pressure on Iran to stop these violations.
In a show of humanitarian solidarity with the residents of the Gaza Strip enduring hardship during the holy month of Ramadan, the Dubai-based Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Humanitarian and Charity Foundation is serving Ramadan meals. Our correspondent, Bassem Al-Madhoun, has the details.
تحاول يد الخير الإماراتية بلسمة أوجاع المعوزين والفقراء.
The Emirates Foundation has once again extended its generosity to the poor and needy families enduring hardships in the Gaza Strip. The Emirates, represented by Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Humanitarian and Charity Foundation, has launched numerous relief projects in Gaza. Today, the foundation extended its charity to the working class of Gaza in a show of solidarity and unity with the residents.
لم تذهب الهم تجعله يسيرا بالتعاطف والتكاتف.
This event has been sponsored and supported by the Dubai-based Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Humanitarian and Charity Foundation in the United Arab Emirates. The UAE has always been one of the first responders when it comes to giving aid and funding charity projects. Today, we focus on helping the working class, which has been marginalised, especially amid the brutal Israeli siege of the Gaza Strip and its residents.
This is one of the dining tables of the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Humanitarian and Charity Foundation. The foundation is serving meals for more than 2,000 workers who are enduring bitter and harsh living conditions in the Gaza Strip.
Since the siege of the Gaza Strip, we have been unemployed. We have nothing to do. We are living off of food stamps and coupons.
I have nothing. I borrowed 500 shekels from my brother to spend during Ramadan. I have to borrow another 500 for my children's school. Also, the Eid is coming. Happy Eid. May God spare us from harm.
The workers have extended deep gratitude to the organizers of this charity event.
We would like to extend gratitude to His Highness, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, who deserves recognition for his unyielding support of the Palestinian people. This is one of his many initiatives.
We thank Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid for his support of the besieged Palestinian people.
The Emirates Charity Foundation is seeking to provide relief to the Palestinians living in poverty. This is one of the many ways that the UAE, a generous Arab state, is trying to help and support the Palestinians in their quest to reclaim their rights and uproot injustice. Bassam Al-Madhoun, Dubai TV, the Gaza Strip.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible by grants from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, the Firedoll Foundation, and by support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news, read our blog, get transcripts of past shows, and more at linktv.org/mosaic. This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs, programs which connect you to the world.